watched a few of the YouTube videos, slightly worried to be on screen. This is a face for radio, my mother tells me. So I'm Dr. Patterson, and Dr. John, and I'm really excited about starting a conversation with you. So we're going to spend some time today. I'm going to say a few things and then leave some room for questions. I am aware that you will have lots of questions about GPs and about your health, and I'm up for that. So, thank you very much for my introduction. I was the Chief Clinical Officer of Oldham, which meant that I was responsible for all the services, and now they've given me a job as one of the 10 Associate Medical Directors for all of GM, so I'm also responsible for the output of some of the hospitals as well. So I'm the guy that you get to blame, and I will hopefully be the guy that tries to help you. And I do think we make things better by listening to each other. Yeah, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about people not listening to patients and how it goes wrong. So I have a confession and I need your help because I woke up this morning after about 3 hours sleep. My wife is a youth worker and we took 30 kids away to Wales, and on Friday night none of them slept, and then on Saturday night they were all sick, so they all had to come and see the doctor, who was me. So I woke up about 7 o'clock this morning and I've just got here, Sam, all the way from Wales, and I just want to do a bit of introduction. So these are some of the young people. I won't talk about mobile phones today, but they're a terrible thing, aren't they? Mobile phones, they're good in some ways. So the thing my wife does is she takes all the phones off the kids, and then they have a really good time. And so they look like they're playing, but they're playing a game. And it was just to show them how much fun they can have without their mobile phones. And I'm really excited to be here in your church. I wanted to send greetings from the church that I come from. So Holy Trinity in Stalybridge, our vicar and the PCC send greetings to yourselves, your pastor and the elders. I'm just so impressed how open-minded you are to reach out to your community and to host these meetings about health. And then just because we're going to spend a little bit more time together, this is a bit more about me. This is my family. So my wife, who works for the church with the red hair, she's the son that the whole family rotates around. So when she tells me I have to go to Wales, I have to go to Wales. And when she tells me I have to get up at 2 in the morning because some kid has drunk too much Coca-Cola, I have to get up at 2 in the morning. And these are our 4 kids, and our 4 kids have all been to school in Oldham or at school in Oldham. So we live just down the road in Stalybridge, but my kids all grew up in Oldham, and I am really passionate that Oldham is a great place to grow up in, and Oldham is a place that we thrive. And the NHS needs to be best where it's needed most, and we need the NHS in Oldham. And what I have noticed over the last, say, 10 years that I've been part of the team in charge is that not everybody has the same health experience. So I have a patient from Zimbabwe, and she had a sore foot, and she went to see her GP, and he said, oh, it's just a verruca. So then she went to A&E twice, and both times the doctors there said, oh, it's just an infection, go away, why are you waiting in A&E, why are you wasting time? And so she came to see me, and this is a true story from a couple of years ago, and I just sat down and listened. You know, I think they just were trying to write her off as somebody who was just being fussy or was trying to get off work. But actually, her foot was really sore, and it wasn't acting like an infection. And so we sat together, and she finally gave me permission to have a look, and I took a piece of glass that big out of her foot. What's going wrong that we're going to A&E twice, and you have to see your GP just to sit and listen and take the glass out? Just a couple of months ago, at the practice I belong to, which is down in Hollingwood, we have some trainee GPs, so they're qualified doctors, but they're learning to be GPs. And one of the young female doctors came in, and she was really happy because she'd seen a patient from Rwanda, and he'd come from another practice where they had him on the wrong blood pressure tablets. If your family come from Africa, you need slightly different blood pressure tablets than if you are, like me, pale and pasty from Ireland. And all she did was just put him on the right tablets, and guess what? His blood pressure got much better, and he got much better. So there's something about we just need to listen to each other and learn that it's wonderful that we're all different, but we need to understand what those differences are, and no more so than in healthcare. Now, the last thing I notice is that people come to the doctors late, and you're going to tell me about waiting times in a second, so we'll have that discussion in a little while. But we go to see the doctor too late. Just like the car, thank you for the setup. We never take our car too late. We always take our car for regular checkups. But people tend to, especially the men, we tend to go to the doctors when things have already happened, as opposed to just staying ahead of the problem. When things go well, you don't really need me, the doctor. Most of your health is in your hands. Most of the health is in your garden, in your kitchen, in your family life, in what you do at the weekends and how you treat each other. That's where your health is. And I am really passionate as a family doctor. I was a boffin doctor. I worked in Cambridge. Me and my wife met at Cambridge University, and we didn't really get on the first time. And then we met in Tower Hamlets doing youth work. And it was just such a surprise that this person I'd met that I thought was all a bit too clever for me and a bit whatever. She was there in Tower Hamlets wanting to do youth work and make a difference. And when we met that way, someone had a hand to put us together. We've been together since then. And we moved up to Manchester because we wanted to leave Cambridge and do medicine where it was needed the most. So why am I telling? Oh, yes, I'm telling you that because the medicine that I recognize starts without the pills and potions. So there's a verse, you'll be aware of it. Let's use some wisdom then, shall we? 3,000 years ago, King David, here we are in the Apostolic Church, King David said he was moved to write a song that says, "We are fearful and wonderfully made." We believe that, don't we? And so if we are fearful and wonderfully made, why do we keep on doing stuff that isn't good for us? Because we are made to live a certain way. And for thousands of years, we've lived those ways. The fact I love best about humans is that we can outrun, eventually, any animal. We are the Terminator robot. When it comes to the other animals, horses, cheetahs can run faster than us, but when we hunt them, we can keep on running, and then they get exhausted, and then we catch them. We are built to move. Yeah, we are built to move, and that's part of. So we're going to do a little bit of that. Think about how we're made, and think about how that affects what we should do to make ourselves healthy. So here's another bit of wisdom. Hippocrates was the original modern doctor. He was 2,700 years ago, and a lot of what he said we still use today in medicine. And his phrase was, "Movement is medicine." So for hundreds and thousands of years we've moved. We could eventually hunt down any animal. We would run to the fields, we'd run to get the water, we'd run and run and run, and we'd always move. And then suddenly, 100 years ago, we just came to a stop, and we sit in our cars, and we sit at our workplaces, and we get so tired at work, we go home and we sit in front of our TVs, and we wonder why things are going wrong with our bodies. So movement is really important. And when you move, your body heals itself. When you move, the fluids inside you move around and go where they should go. When you move, your muscles and your tendons get stronger. Your digestion system works on movement. It's not a very pleasant conversation for a Sunday morning, but often when I see somebody whose bowels are not working, I ask them, "Are you moving?" "No, I'm sitting down, I'm eating the wrong food, I don't know why things are going wrong." Yeah? So movement is medicine, and we've always known that. And there are lots of ways to move in Oldham. So has anybody here gone to the Alexander Park? You all know the Alexander Park. It's a real gift in Oldham. It's one of the best things. Do you know what the connection is between the Alexander Park and the statue of Abraham Lincoln in Manchester? So I know you've asked me to come for medicine, but I'm going to just try a bit of history. Are we okay for a bit of Are we okay? Because I only learned this 10 years ago. So Oldham used to be the richest part of Manchester. We were the Didsbury. So the wealth of Manchester was in the cotton mills and in the linen. And in Australia, they call their linen Manchester. And the place where all that was made was here in Oldham. And the people who made it, they lived in Oldham. They bought their big houses in Oldham. And they'd go up the Saddleworth moors and live this life. But Oldham was the richest part. And then, when the Civil War broke out in America, we lost the cotton because the cotton was in the southern parts of America with the Confederate states who were pro-slavery. And they tried to break the war by not sending the cotton to England, so England would then complain that they were going to go bankrupt, an economic war, and that we would put pressure on the northern states, and then they would call the whole thing off. And our leaders said, "No, we want to abolish slavery. We're not going to buy into that." So then the southern, and I'm getting to why this is Alexander Park, this is going somewhere. The southern states in America started selling their cotton, but for twice the price. And so if you wanted to survive in this country and your whole wealth was built on cotton, you had to take the counterfeit, the Confederate contraband cotton, and Oldham said no. But when Oldham said no, because we are pro abolition, we don't want to support the southern states, the whole town went into crisis. And when we went into crisis, the cotton owners said we need to find something for the people who work in the mills to do. And one of the churchmen, and this is worth looking at, one of the churchmen said, I will give you all the land in the middle of Oldham. I'm a father of four. I'm very well used to talking when children talk. So at this point, and it was very risky. Abraham Lincoln led the northern states, and it was really important that the southern states didn't get the money to fight them, and so Manchester saying we're not going to buy that cotton helped the war effort and helped them, the right people, win the war, which is why we got a thank you statue, and he wrote to the people of Manchester to say thank you for taking the stand. But in Oldham, instead of just laying off all those families who were working in the cotton mills, they gave them a job, and the job was to build Alexander Park. So when I go around Alexander Park, which is our gift, which is our park, it reminds me that the right people made the right choice in this country. And it's our freedom park. And I want you to think about that because I want to see you when I go around the Alexander Park. There's also another part. At the end of the Alexander Park, there's a place called Northern Roots. So the point of today's talk is we're going to talk a little bit about health. I'm going to get to some technical stuff later on. We'll probably have lots of really technical questions and answers when we get to the questions and answers. But I want to tell you this wisdom of how to manage your health. And I want to give you some inside knowledge, and I want to give you some life hacks and some top tips. So top tip number one is make more use of Alexander Park. It's a real treasure for all of us, and its history is amazing. Top tip number two is Northern Roots. So has anyone heard of Northern Roots? Yeah? So Sam, this outward thinking church community and all your neighbours could really do with Northern Roots. Northern Roots is going to be the biggest eco farm in the country, and it's just at your doorstep. So Alexander Park has got this big parkway which goes down to Daisy Nook. Two of our practices just border that. And already we have patients who are going and walking around and working in the gardens, and it's so good for their health. And some of them are learning healthy eating, and some of them are learning arts and crafts, and some of the kids are just running free in nature like they have never really experienced. It's called Northern Roots, and you can find it on the internet. And I'm sure they'd love to come and tell you about it, but they are really interested in getting to meet communities like yourself. And do you remember what I said about for hundreds and thousands of years, we ran and we moved and then we stopped? Well, guess what? For hundreds and thousands of years, we lived in nature and we moved around among the trees and we grew our own food and we just were outside all the time. And now we're inside in centrally heated houses with bad ventilation and mold and all the rest, and we wonder what's going wrong with our health. Please, can I encourage you to get out? Oldham's got some amazing places, Alexander Park and Northern Roots. And I really do believe that movement is medicine because movement healed and helped heal me. So I broke my back in a terrible accident, fractured my spine, and I absolutely did not want to have the operation with the metal rods. And I was able to say no. And thankfully, because I had a good job, I was able to come home and get better. But the way I got better was by moving. And then just as I was starting to get better, COVID hit, and we all worked so hard in the middle of COVID, they locked some of us senior doctors into hotels, and we just seemed to work 24/7 for months and months and months. I didn't see my family for the first couple of weeks. And guess what? Halfway through that, my heart just went, huh, and had a bit of a funny turn. I think that's the technical term. But it was movement that got me back to health. And so this is last year, where some patients from the practices that we work at and some friends from Oldham, we all went and we did a park run together. Has anybody here done a park run? Oh, well, I'm going to be coming back and asking that question in 12 months. The thing is, we're all used to runs being a race, aren't we, where you have to be first. But park runs are not like that. It's a real community effort, And it doesn't matter if you walk, it doesn't matter if you run or walk. I was so slow. This was my first run after my heart problems and my fractured back that I was overtaken by a mum with a pram on a hill. And to be honest, my male pride did struggle a bit, but because I finished the race and ran really slowly all the way around, I thought, you know what, I have probably won today. And when we think about movement, we think about the winners being the people with the gold medal. When I was trying to get better, I went to the local swimming pool, and there was a lady who sort of toppled into the pool, and she just walked up and down in the pool because that was all she could manage. And over the months I was getting better, I saw her lose some weight, get more steady on her feet, get a bit more confident, meet a few people at the pool, and I thought, you're the winner. I was so inspired by her. And then I thought, well, I have to turn up and get better, because if she's getting better, I have to turn up and get better. Movement is medicine, and we really underestimate it. So I'm going to move on for another topic. If you'll do this with me. As a show of hands, who will try to move more next week than last week? If I get enough hands, I'll move on. Okay, thank you very much. Good. I'm actually lying because there's more stuff about movement. No. So here's a top hack. The Oldham Community Leisure, the people who run our leisure centres and our sports centres, they're a community company. They are a bit owned by the council, but they're separate. And they're run by Oldhamers. And they have lots of discounts. So I don't know if you've been recently to that, or if you have someone who needs to do more exercise. But you can get a discount rate, but also there is a exercise referral scheme. So if you have arthritis or blood pressure or diabetes or problems trying to lose weight, you can get not just a subsidized place, but you get a health coach, you get a program of work, and they will motivate you and change your exercise to what you need. Movement is medicine, and if you go to your GP and you qualify, you can get onto the Oldham's exercise referral scheme. And I have patients who say, I'm not going to the gym. And then 5 weeks later they go, it's the best thing I did. I wish I'd waited. I wish I'd done this a month ago, or I wish I'd done this years ago. I'm a doctor. Movement really fixed me. Movement will help fix you. And more importantly, the people who are too sick to be here today, your friends, the family members, let's get us all moving more. And then just lastly, I'm a bit proud of this picture. This is my youngest boy and his best mates from Oldham, and they're all winning tournaments, prizes for basketball. One of the Oldham secret gems, one of the hacks, one of the top tips is Oldham Ball Hall is just in your area, just down the road, and it's packed every night with young people and older people playing ball sports. My wife is obsessed with netball, and she plays netball twice a week, and she goes to Oldham Ball Hall. My boy is obsessed with basketball. So for the young people, the kids, the nephews, the nieces, Oldham is full of young men playing basketball every night, and it's a great community, and it's great for them. And anytime your teenager's not on their phone but they're playing basketball, this is my top tip. Movement is medicine. And so the crematorium where you end up if you don't move enough, yes, and then there's the bridge, and then there's Newbridge Academy. Just next to it is Oldham Ball Hall. It's run by Oldham Community Leisure, and it's great, and it's a really good crowd. It does smell a bit. By the time you get there, and those teenage boys, the girls are probably fine, but when those teenage boys, you know what I'm saying, have run around that hall for 5 hours continuously, it does smell a bit, but it's a nice smell. Right, I've moved on. So now, we didn't practice beforehand, but you talked about how we treat our cars and how we treat our bodies. Now, I know, because I know humans, that there will be probably men and maybe women here who really, really look after their cars. You know who they are in this room already. Some of us really, really look after our cars, and we won't miss a service, and we won't miss an MOT. And when we get a brand new car, we're really gentle with it. And if it becomes a classic car, we listen out for the noises, and we take a special care for it. And if you just read this with me, just read it inside your head. Your body's like a car you travel in. Some of us look after our real cars better than our bodies, and then we're surprised when it's our bodies that crash and not the car. And this is the thing that we do wrong, is that we don't go and have regular checkups. And there's lots of checkups that you can have. And in your car, you've got lots of tubes that have to work. You've got lots of air that has to be in the right place. You've got the body that has to be well looked after so it doesn't turn to rust. And we are just the same. And although we are wonderfully made, we do need to look after ourselves. So, I wasn't sure what the mix of the crowd would be, but here's the question: does anybody know the chemical name that's on that pan that makes it non-stick? It begins with T. Have you heard of Teflon? Yep. So Teflon is a chemical made by man that makes pans remarkably non-stick. Says I'm pretending that I do a lot of cooking in my house now. Yeah, Teflon. That's what Teflon is. And beneath that, there's another thing which is made by man, and it's called Velcro. And we all use Velcro. Those really sticky two bits of fabric you put together. One's full of hooks and one's full of little loops, isn't it? And they both stick together. Now, I said, and we all agreed that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. The inside of our blood vessels are less sticky than Teflon. When we come out of our mother's wombs, when we grow up as young adults, our blood vessels are super non-stick. So the blood flows and the things inside flow and flow and flow, and we don't come to harm. And if you're ever on a motorway and you see suddenly 2 or 3 cars crash together, what happens? The entire lanes of traffic just stop and seize up, and there can be a 7-mile jam on that M60, can't there? If you have a blockage in your blood vessels, that's what heart attacks are. That's what strokes are. So we want to keep the blood flowing inside our cars, inside our bodies. Now, I'm showing you this because just 4 cigarettes a day turns your blood vessels from Teflon to Velcro. People ask me, why is smoking so dangerous? You know, why have you got such a thing in your head about smoking? And it's because it's the one product that we sell in the shops that if you do exactly what the product tells you to do, it's got a 50% chance that it will kill you. Now, I'm sure there's not many smokers here, but you've got uncles and sons and sisters and daughters and friends who smoke. And, you know, this is important, a message to pass on to them. We are doing really well in Oldham at reducing smoking. We gave away more nicotine replacement patches and sprays last year than any other part of Manchester, because we're really pushing that amongst the GPs and amongst the chemists to give people free nicotine so they get off their cigarettes. Because the reason why people in Oldham are dying younger is because they've turned the Teflon into Velcro, and the number one reason for that is smoking. Now, we're probably going to talk about blood pressure in the questions, but can you imagine if you've then got these sticky walled blood vessels and you're suddenly pumping your blood through at a higher pressure than normal? What would it do to your car? Well, it does the same thing to your body. And then instead of having the very perfect healthy oil, which is the blood, that blood is full of sugar or full of fat. To stick onto the Velcro, you're 40 times more likely to have a heart attack or stroke if you smoke, if you have high blood pressure, if you have diabetes and cholesterol. And yet all of those things are avoidable and treatable. And yet I still see people who only come and see me after they've had their first stroke or their first heart attack. And it's really interesting because my dad was one of those. He was a cheeky pup, my father. I loved the man, but he didn't come from a medical family. I'm the first doctor in my family. And his motto was always, don't do what the doctor tells you to do what the doctor does. Which is probably quite a good lesson. And so he didn't stop smoking until Dr. Brown stopped smoking. Dr. Brown had one heart attack, he stopped smoking in the 70s, changed his diet. My dad had 3 heart attacks and didn't do anything until Dr. Brown changed. You'll see doctors exercising all the time. You won't see many doctors smoking, and you'll see doctors taking the right medicine. I take medicine for my cholesterol. Touch wood. Why am I touching wood in the church? I'm so apologetic. I don't even believe in that. Apologies. I have yet to have a heart attack. My dad had 5 by the time he was my age, but he smoked, and he didn't take his tablets, and he didn't move. Okay, so we're going to move on. Oh, yes, but a top tip, if you have a friend, if you have a family member that you're worried about smoking, in Oldham, you can get free vapes for 12 weeks. And one of the reasons why people don't stop is because they say that they can't afford this or they can't afford that. If you Google ABL or Oldham swap to stop, this is a really good top tip. And I'll share the slides, Sam, afterwards on the email, and we'll be able to pass them around, yeah? You can, without having to speak to your doctor, you can apply and they will give you 12 weeks of a vape for free. Now, here's what we think about vapes. If you've never smoked, don't start vaping. Vaping's a chemical, but it's still 20 times safer than smoking. So if you're a smoker and the choice is between smoking and vaping, always choose vaping. It's 20 times safer. Yeah. But if you've never smoked, don't start vaping. And we're passing laws to stop these bubblegum flavored vapes that the young people are starting. We don't want to get them on vapes. But we do want to give people who are struggling to stop smoking free vapes. And in Oldham, it's one of our programs this year. We're going to give every smoker free vapes for 12 weeks who wants them. So if you've got somebody, send them to me or send them to the website and we'll get them off. Right. Now, you've heard this phrase, the kitchen beats the gym. I'm looking around. There's some very fine figures of healthy women and men in here. Some of you, hopefully go to the gym. But what this means is when it says the kitchen always beats the gym, is if I get a biscuit, and I'm hoping there's a biscuit in my near future, Sam, at some point. If I get a biscuit, that's 300 calories. I have to do 40 minutes on a treadmill to burn off that one biscuit. So if on a Monday night when I go to the gym, I do 30 minutes on my treadmill, and I go home and I have 2 biscuits. The kitchen has beaten the gym. Now, the kitchen and the gym can work together really well, but what we eat is so important because we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if we eat the stuff we're meant to eat, we get healthy and strong. And if we eat all this modern processed stuff, we get sick. Think about it. And I've said this twice before. For thousands and for hundreds of years, we ate natural food, natural meat, natural vegetables. We ate it in a portion that was really usual. Not too many carbs, lots of protein, lots of fruit and fiber. And then these terrible people, bless them, didn't know what they were doing at the time, but they invented processed food. I mean, processed sugar. How much sugar could our ancestors over in Ireland and Nigeria 300 years ago, they would get fruit when fruit was in season. And some boffin took the sugar cane and put it into a machine and then made it all year round. If they had fruit, they would get 1 or 2 oranges a week. Now you can go to the local supermarket and somebody squeezed 20 oranges into a liter of plastic, and my boy could drink 20 oranges just like that. And we wonder why his body's acting badly. He's young, he can get away with it, but we wonder why it affects our bodies. And for my patients who are diabetic, they get thirsty because they're diabetic. They drink fruit juice because the fruit juice, is a drink. But then all the sugar in the fruit juice makes their diabetes worse, so they get more thirsty, so they then drink more fruit juice. So there's something in the kitchen that we need to be really careful for. And I would say we definitely have to watch for all that processed food. They put so many chemicals in, they put so much sugar in, it's really bad for us. We've got amazing bodies, but we need to think, what have these bodies got used to? And we're not ready yet for all this modern stuff. So I've kept this slide to now. I don't want anyone falling out with me over this slide. When I had that heart wobble, I was 106 kilograms. The stress and not being able to move from a broken back, I just got big. And I was locked in a hotel. And the one thing about being locked in a hotel trying to fight COVID for you all was that we had food on tap. And so the reason why I had heart problems was because I was way heavier than what my body was used to. So when do your bones stop growing? Yeah, 18, 19, your bones stop growing. Yeah, it's bad news when your boy wants to be 6'5" and play basketball and he's just about to turn 19 and he's 6'2". But he has a hack I'm going to tell you about in a second. However, this is reminding me and then you that no matter how big you get, your bones have stopped at 18. So when my patient comes in and says, all my joints ache, and they are like I was, 20 kilograms overweight, I say to them, well, it's because your knees haven't got big enough for this. It's because your hip joints aren't big enough. The same thing happens with your heart and the main blood vessels. They don't suddenly get bigger past 19. And often when I talk to my patients and we try and unpick how we get better, I'll say to them, what size were you when you were 18? And they'll all say, oh, I was about half of what I am now. And when we help them, and we might talk during the questions how we can help you lose some weight, when people lose weight, it's remarkable how much better they feel. And their joints are better, and their sugar problem disappears, and their blood pressure comes down. Can you imagine the heart trying to pump blood all the way around this body? That's why the blood pressure's up, because it's used to just putting blood around an 18-year-old, who's muscular and lean and mean, and now it's trying to put blood around this body. So I lost 10 kilograms, and it was so difficult. And I had to do some fasting to lose that weight. I didn't use any chemicals. As a church, you know about fasting. And so we need to think about, I won't go into it today, but there is something about fasting and about how we lose weight that we could talk about another time. The reason why I've got these bags of sugar is purely because the thing that really helped me when I was struggling to lose weight was that I knew I had to lose 10 kilograms. I just went into the supermarket and I picked up 10 bags of sugar, which is 10 kilograms, and I realized that I was carrying that about, and that's why my heart was why my heart was struggling. And once I lost the weight, I just reminded myself mentally that I put all that weight down. Yeah, so I found that really helpful. You will really, we want to help you lose weight. You will really benefit from it. Nobody likes hearing that. I'm saying it to myself first. We are still friends, yes? Thank you. This slide's really helpful, though, isn't it? It really makes you think. Right. Okay, so we're going to get on to some technical stuff now. I know you've had some information about. I know you've had some information about apps and access. Do you want me to stop for questions or just do 5 minutes on new ways to get into your GP? What would you like? Just finish the slides and do questions, or stop for questions? What would you like? Let's have a democratic vote. Slides or questions? Okay, thank you so much. Right, so this month, you are the first to hear this. Things have changed at your local GP. So I was sharing with Sam earlier on, when I took over as part of the team 10 years ago, the GPs in Oldham did 60,000 appointments a month. That put us last in Manchester. It wasn't enough because we have lots of health needs here and GPs can really help you. However, we've got it up to 110,000 and you've not really noticed much difference, have you? So we're almost doing double the number of appointments that we did 10 years ago, but systems are still really stretched. And that's because there's lots of health problems here in Oldham because we're not getting ahead of our health. We're not moving. We're not winning in the kitchen. We're not winning in the gym. And we're not thinking about how we're made and how best to live our lives. However, we are getting somewhere. And one of the ideas is about some of those 120,000 consultations are for really small things that you could just do on your phone if your GP was a travel agent or was a bank. So I've not been to my bank for 5 years, and I've not been to a travel agent for 10 years, but I have been on holiday. I think I spoke to my bank manager 6 years ago. I have 4 kids. We ran out of money. You know how that is. And so I had to speak to a real person. But apart from that conversation, genuinely, I am really happy to be able to use my computer and my phone for lots of things. So all but 4 of the GP practices have new websites. And if you haven't been to your GP website yet, please do go and have a look. This is one of the local GP websites from around the corner, not one of ours, because I want to just show you what the average GP looks like in Oldham. And first of all, there's a sign here in the top right hand that says English, the little Union Jack. If you press that, there's a choice of 98 languages, yeah? So maybe you, as a church, you're looking after some neighbours who are new in the country and don't speak English. Maybe as a friend, one of your neighbours needs some help. Maybe you know someone whose English isn't their first language. Well, this puts the whole website into one of 98 different languages. So suddenly everyone gets to be involved. That's really important. At the bottom right-hand side, it says online services. Now, if you click on that, you'll get 2 options. And when we first did the NHS app 10 years ago, it was just, we wanted to get started. We were nowhere near as good as the travel agents. We were nowhere near as good as the banks, yeah? I've forgotten where my phone is, but if you're one of my patients down in Hollingwood, and this is more or less the average, if you get on the phone, you can order your medicines, and there's a little box where you can talk to me. So every lunchtime and evening, the patients who have said, oh, I need more of this, I'm on holiday, or this isn't working for me, can I come and see you? They can put that message in. I read that message at lunchtime, and then I either get them an appointment, or I give them a double prescription because they're off on holiday, yeah? So you can message me that way. They can then see the very words that I typed in our appointments. So say they come and see me and I do what I'm doing now, which is talking too much, and they can't remember everything I've said, they can get their phone and they can read exactly what I've said and what they said. If they go to the hospital, they can read the specialist letter. And if they need to chase up the specialist, on their phone, they can open up the letter and they can phone the secretary and go, I am this person, here's my number, when is my appointment? The other thing you can do is if we come together and we organize a blood test, you can maybe see your blood test result before I can, which sometimes a bit scary because sometimes you can be scared by a result that you need to be. But if you've got a chronic condition like rheumatoid arthritis or diabetes and you know what your numbers mean, you can track your own numbers without having to involve me. You can see, oh, I did make that change in the kitchen. It's going really well. And it's only going to get better. So it's only going to get better. We've got no game in town but the NHS app. So it's time to look again at that. And sometimes people who are struggling for appointments, if they get on the NHS app, that helps them jump the queue and get in there. Not jump the queue, but find another way of getting in. The other thing, though, is that this month, every GP has to be online virtually all the time. So GPs have to be online from 8 in the morning till 6:30 at night. Some of the local GPs are online the whole time. And the second button you can press is an online consultation. And this is a bit like going to the bank and saying, I want this or I want that, and I don't need to come in and see you. And so there will be a doctor who will, so you can put in what your health problem is, or if you've got a quick admin request, like you need a sick note or a benefit form, or you need to ask a question whether your symptoms are a side effect of your medicine, or you can just go in there and just read some good health advice that doctors have said is good advice. And what happens is you can put in that information all day, and then the GP will read that at some point in the next 2 or 3 days and give you a reply. So this isn't for urgent stuff, but imagine if the 40% of people who come to the GP because it's one of these problems could just do it online. And they haven't been able to do that in Oldham until this month. So from this month, when you go home today, have a good Sunday, but on Monday, open up your local GP's website and see if you can find these buttons and see if they could help you get some access. And the more people use this, the more appointments will be free on the phone and to see doctors. So this is not like Tesco's, where we're taking people off the cashier lanes and making us all scan ourselves. This is not that. What we're doing is we're keeping all the cashiers, but we're just saying, are there people here who just want to do this quickly or order online or do stuff with Tesco's without shutting down the cashier lines? Do you understand the analogy? So we're still doing 120,000 appointments, 110,000 appointments, but we're trying to move 40,000 episodes onto online so we can free up space for you and the people who really need to see it. So, that is me finished. I just did want to say, I'm going to go back again. I haven't mentioned mental health, and Sam, it might be worthwhile thinking about having someone else to talk about mental health. In my experience, it's easy to come back from a broken back if you're motivated and you're surrounded by love. But if you've got a very low mood and you don't have the support network I had, then even a sore thumb can be difficult to come back from. And there's something about getting our head in the right place. Here is one last top hack, which is in Union Street, there's a place called Tog Mind, and it looks like a charity shop, but it's where we do our mental health. So basically, you can walk in there if you're struggling to get to see your GP, if you don't want to tell too many people about your mental health, you can walk into Tog Mind on the Union Street in Hyde and see someone. And just before I finish off, I do want to just wave this thing in my pocket, which is my vitamin D spray. So, who here takes vitamin D? Right. You get extra points, elder, pastor. Now listen, you are the super race. You come from Nigeria. You are the original humans. And when the humans went north, not much changed except their skin went pale and pasty because we were so desperate it was so important to get the energy and the vitamins from the sun, which is vitamin D, that the only thing we changed was that we went pale and pasty. Now, I have pale and pasty patients in Oldham who aren't getting enough vitamin D, despite being pale and pasty. There is no way that you will be able to get enough goodness from the sun. Do you have a house plant? Do you see how the house plant goes towards the sun? So, what did we say? Don't listen to what the doctor says, watch what the doctor does. Yeah? So we didn't do this with our first two, and my girls would have bone pain all winter. And they'd wake me up at 2 in the morning because their legs were sore. And they'd be really, they thought they had seasonal depression and they'd get really down. And then I went and did some research and I did some more learning and I saw how important vitamin D was. And this is a spray. It's a couple of quid. It's the best thing you can do. We don't really prescribe it unless it's an emergency. But every Patterson child, pale and pasty Pattersons, have a vitamin D spray. They brush their teeth, they spray themselves with vitamin D, but, brush their teeth again, and you saw how tall the boys were and how strong the boys were. They've never complained about bone pain in the winter. They don't get depressed in the winter, and it boosts their immune system, and it helps so much inside. And for hundreds and thousands of years, all us humans lived where the sun was. Now, I welcome everybody to Oldham. I've moved here from Ireland, and I love Oldham, but we have not brought the sun with us. So, if you do two things different from spending some time with me today, do think about moving more, but please do think about your vitamin D. And when I come back and ask if you've been up Alexander Park, I will ask you if you've got a vitamin D spray. So I'm going to finish there, but I'm just so grateful that you've listened. I am very Irish when I get excited, and I have got really excited because I'm so chuffed to be here with you. But thank you for listening. So, in terms of questions, how would you like to do it, sir? So I will take any question. I think we're still on camera, so sometimes it might be too personal. So I'm sure our camera people will do some editing. And I am not going anywhere. I'm so excited to be here. I'll hang around for a bit at the end and talk to you personally if you want a personal chat. So you don't have to ask a personal thing today. If your knee's doing something you're embarrassed about, we can talk about your knee off camera, yeah? I'm not here to be a doctor. I'm here just to signpost you to things. But what I've done is I've got a whiteboard, and if people want to ask questions, then we'll talk about the things that you want to ask about, and I won't miss your question. So any volunteers? Who's got the first question? At the back there.
Check.
Well, so my name is Victor, and talking about high blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I've got high blood pressure myself, and I've been on medications for some time now, probably 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed the last 4 days that I've been having this headache consistently for 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken my drugs,
Mm-hmm.
my medications, and can't see any changes. I woke up this morning with my head banging, and can't see what is happening exactly.
Okay, Victor, thank you very much. What I'll do is I'll collect some questions, and then I'll talk to the questions, Victor. Is that okay? Thank you so much.
So,
Next question?
2 questions.
Yeah.
My name is Emmanuel. I've heard somewhere that exercise stresses the body. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you. Go on.
Okay. Now, if your job description involves so much movement per day, is it advisable to add going to gym to that?
That's a brilliant question. Thank you. Thanks, Emmanuel.
Good afternoon, doctor. So my question is about the vitamin D.
Mm-hmm.
So we from the black
Yes.
minority, of course, we didn't bring sun with us,
Yes.
so we definitely need vitamin D. But in terms of strength, what would you recommend?
Okay, thank you.
One more.
My question will sound very funny, but I'll ask regardless. So, I used to wonder, I thought it was a thing of joke when people would say they've got serious issues, and then when they go to their GP or A&E, they prescribe paracetamol to them.
Mm-hmm.
Until I heard it from a lot of people. So my question is, why is it that everything you take to the GP is paracetamol?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate that question. Okay.
Maybe we should deal with those first.
Yeah, okay. Well, definitely. Okay. Emmanuel, you're completely right about work being quite stressful. And I look after a man, I can tell his story. And basically, the man works at the airport. He was there from 18 to 60. Now, at 58, he comes in, his knees are terrible, his back's terrible. And I said to him, this is, tell me about a day's work. And he told me about the really hard work that he had at the airport. And I said, and when you were 18, what happened? He goes, well, when I was 18, I walked in and all the old men had cups of tea and told us what to do. And I said, right, and now that you're 60, what's happening? He goes, well, the 18-year-olds are having cups of tea and us 60-year-olds are moving all the furniture, you know? So for him, there was two things he needed. He needed to recognize his stage of life, and we spent the next couple of years encouraging him to do some qualifications so his job was slightly less manual. The problem is the work that we do very rarely gets us fit. It wears us out. You know, if you're doing intellectual work, at the end of the day, you're just worn out. But your body needs to move. And if you're working in, say, Amazon warehouse, or if you're working on a production line, that's repetitive. That's not what we used to do, is it? That wears you out. And so some of my patients who do repetitive hard work, we say, go to the pool, walk up and down in the pool. This exercise referral system works for arthritis, and you could then get a personal trainer who would say, right, we're going to try and spare those joints that are getting too much at work, but build up the rest. And it makes sense. If you think about the mechanical process, if you lose your muscles around a joint, the bones just come together. If you strengthen the muscles, the bones work more naturally and don't wear against each other. So the answer is that we should do more, but sometimes if you have a really hard work with lots of repetition in it, you need a bit of guidance as to what exercise is good. Cross-training, I don't know if you've seen it, you're on a platform and you move, is much better for your knees than if you're running on a treadmill. Yeah? There's things you can do for your back, which isolate your back but keep your heart going and get you all that fitness. So without knowing exactly what you do, I won't try and personally coach you from this distance, but there are trainers who know what they're doing at the gyms, and they'd be really helpful. And just because bits of you are worn out by your difficult work, you would almost benefit all the better for doing some proper focused exercise, yeah? Victor, do you have a blood pressure monitor at home? No, and so the really tricky thing about blood pressure is that it very rarely gives you symptoms until it's too late. So a lot of people, the first symptom they get is something really bad. But it is true that there's a whole group of people who do get symptoms from their blood pressure. Some people feel really wound up, like there's a spring inside them. Some people feel really heavy head and a headache. However, other things can give you those symptoms too. So it's quite helpful to think about investing in a home blood pressure monitor, because if you're getting symptoms and your home blood pressure is high, well, then we can tie those both together and we can think about changing your tablets to maybe longer acting or ones that will suit you better. But if you're getting a headache and your blood pressure is perfect because you've tested it at home, well, then you need to think, is it the sinuses? Do I need to get my glasses checked? Is it coming from my eyes? Because the muscles around my eyes are really are working harder because I should be wearing glasses. That really can give you the sort of head you talk about. I believe that that when the body can't tell us by words, we have to find the numbers. This is checking your numbers. And so blood pressure monitors at home are reasonably cheap now. Men like you and I, no one knows what to buy us for our birthday or for Christmas, do they? So maybe we have to get a rubbish present one birthday or Christmas and get ourselves a blood pressure monitor. Maybe it's something the community could help with. There are some charities who will help you out, and find you a blood pressure monitor if you go online to the British Heart Foundation. It's really helpful to know, are these symptoms my blood pressure or are they not? The right dose for vitamin D, if you're well, is between 2,000 and 4,000 units, which is what they sell in the shops. So if they sell it, you want to get the most vitamin D you can legally buy. Costco, we all go to Costco, so, don't we? And Costco sell vitamin D by the truckload. It's the cheapest vitamin D, and we only swapped from the tablets to the sprays because my boys, we just remember the spray and they quite liked it, so they went spray, teeth, and they're gone. And the height and the lack of bone pain speaks for itself. So the dose, so they can't sell too high a dose. You're meant to have 360,000 international units a year, but and so the answer is 2,000 to 4,000 units a day. But it's basically what you can buy in the shop. Always go for the strong one. Yeah, Sam. I mean, paracetamol is an amazing drug. It hasn't got any of the side effects of ibuprofen, and it hasn't got any of the, it doesn't put your blood pressure up. There's no risk with cancer. It's a really safe drug. Whatever they say in America, you can ignore that. Paracetamol is safe. GPs give paracetamol to their kids lots. What's really good about it is that it's not so strong that it covers over a serious problem. So to be a bit more serious about your answer, if I give somebody paracetamol, I know that if they get better, then they and us don't need to worry. Yeah? So paracetamol takes down inflammation, settles pain, takes down temperatures, helps headaches, and if paracetamol can fix you, then you're not that bad. But if people take paracetamol and then they come back and go, it hasn't worked, then I'm a bit more interested, a bit more worried. Yeah? And there's loads of symptoms. On average, people see their GP 7 to 10 times a year, and we factor that in. So I don't make my decision just on the first time I see somebody. Half the people I see, I'll bring back in 12 weeks or 2 weeks or sometimes 4 days to see what's happened. And I've given them paracetamol. I phone them up afterwards. They're fine. They're relaxed. I'm relaxed. It wasn't the serious thing they're worried about. Yeah? Should we do another round of questions?
I notice that I sleep a lot. If I sleep, let's say 24 hours, if I wake up, I'll still feel dozing. So when I saw my GP last, I was given rest med. There's one engine that I should be using when I want to sleep.
Okay.
But I noticed that it's very, very inconvenient for me. So I have to return it.
Is this a CPAP? You were given a C? Yes, okay.
So secondly, when I wake up in the morning, my voice always crack. I just want to ask, there's no medicine for me to be using or what? I don't understand. Instead of using the machine.
No problem. Okay, right, we'll come to that question. Any other questions?
Any question? One.
My question is, you answered about taking paracetamol.
Mhm.
So I'm aware that the level, like the interval of taking paracetamol in a day, maybe 6 to 8 hours, depending on the dosing. So at what point do you feel it's toxic?
Paracetamol?
Yes. So if you have taken for 24 hours, you've taken like up to 8 tablets of paracetamol, and the next day you're still having a headache. So what do you do? At what point do you feel like it's toxic to the body and you still need to report back to the GP?
Okay, thank you. Okay.
I have a question.
Yep.
It's about I don't know if this is specific to our GP. It's about the process of seeing the GP,
Yep.
and it's called e-consult.
Yes.
The challenge is that most of the time, I think for us, it's like you have to register between the hours of 6 in the morning and 8 on the particular app if you want to see the GP that day. And if you miss that time slot,
Yes.
you're not able to. So even if you walk in, you're basically being told that there's no appointment. Sometimes you cannot anticipate what is going to happen. So something happened during the day, you need to see the GP. It's past the time for the e-consult. You probably feel maybe it's not bad enough to go to A&E.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure exactly how to, undo that particular aspect.
So I'll give you another top tip. So it is frustrating, and that's why I'm saying this is really fresh off the press. So if you read the newspapers, you'll see that some of the GP unions have been complaining because there's a brand new rule that they have to offer online all the time that they're open, and some GPs offer it even when they're closed. Now, they won't look at that the same day, so for your sick child, that's not good enough, but when you're trying to do something, say you're at work and you've been told to get another x-ray and you want to talk to them about why that is, you can use the online stuff. Every GP practice keeps what we call 111 appointments. So when I open my book in the morning, half my appointments haven't been taken because they're going to come from people who phone. Some of those appointments are going to come from people who have been online and asked, but 111 can book into my book. So if you have an urgent problem and you can't get anywhere past your GP, you phone 111 There is a trained nurse who knows a clinical triage, and she'll book you in to see me. And it is frustrating. Sometimes I see somebody who's not that unwell, give them some paracetamol, and then an hour later I see the person who came from 111. It would have been nice the other way round, but at least I saw them. So just because your doctor says we're full that day, that is true from the phones, but there will be appointments online, and 111 is a secret, not secret, it's a top tip. It's a sort of a way to get into your doctors. So we keep 111 appointments because we know through research that there are people who will, not be able to use the half-eight opening of appointments, but 111 is available all the time, and it lets you know how serious things are. I was on call and deep in theatre and doing operations when our first child got really quite sick, and my wife called 111, got a nurse, and the two of them just talked together, and then it got phoned back, and it really helped her. So think about 111 if you can't get through to your GP, but do go back to your GP this month and next month and see what's happening on the website, because e-consults was a version of this where people were just trying to experiment. So we turned it on and turned it off and turned it on and turned it off. But now GPs have to have the online all the time. But if it's urgent and you can't be seen, you want to go 111, and they can say, great, we'll speak to your GP, right, we've got you an appointment for this afternoon, yeah? Okay, it's so common to ask to tell the GP that you're tired all the time that we use those four letters TATT, tired all the time, and there's 120 reasons why someone, not you, but why someone might be tired all the time, and it's really important that you and the GP have a conversation about that. So when my patients come in, unless there's an obvious cause, we put them through quite a battery of tests. And sometimes it's to do with early diabetes, sometimes it's to do with their breathing and they snore and they can't keep their airway open. And so it's important that we get the diagnosis right. Now, if it is an airway problem, then you're going to snore, you're going to get dehydrated, and your throat will be dry because you'll lose all that water. And there's lots of ways we could help with that in the short term, so you can get artificial saliva, there's lozenges you can get, you can speak to your GP about that. But if you need CPAP, it's because have you been somewhere and they've tested your oxygen levels on your fingers? Yeah. So I think what we need to do then is, you need to have, if CPAP's not working, the thing that does work is some weight loss, which is really quite tricky. Now, at the moment, the weight loss injection, Mounjaro and Ozempic, has finally become available on the NHS, but not to everyone yet. And so the people who worked on the injection recommended it for everybody at a certain weight, but the government said we're only going to pay for people at this weight. But actually, we have a lot of patients on CPAP or who are waiting for knee replacements that if they could just lose weight, that would be the medicine that would solve them. Weight loss is medicine as well as movement. Now, the ABL website I showed you, where you can get your vapes from for your friends, you can also self-refer for weight loss, and they will be the people who give out the weight loss injections when the time comes. So this April, we're going to change we're probably going to change the rules about who can have the weight loss injection, and then the next April, it'll get even better and more fairer. The problem is that at the moment, they're only giving them to about 700 people in Manchester, and none of us in this room are, big enough that we would qualify this year. So weight loss is really important when you have breathing problems and you're tired during the day. If you're tired during the day because you are not getting enough oxygen during the night, then that is a serious problem. You will, your life will be shorter because of that sleep night after night after night. So it's really important to get some help from the GP to see what we can do to fix that. Now, in terms of the paracetamol, the doses that we put that you can buy in the shops are really safe. So sometimes if you go and see a doctor, they will give you a higher dose than you can buy in the shops. And that's very sensible. We don't want people taking maximum doses from the shops because you could be covering over a problem. And so 2 tablets 8 times a day is okay for 3 days. It's absolutely safe. Unless you have another liver problem, it's really safe. But you should not be taking that much for month after month after month after month. There's a really fun technical answer, but the answer probably for now is read the instructions which says only do this for 3 days. If you still need it after 3 days, contact your doctor. doctors do listen to what's happened before you speak to them. If you ever want to get a doctor concerned about your children, the things that we always ask you about is, has the child got stuck? So are they now not passing any water? And no matter how much they drink, they can't pass any water. Is the rash stuck? It won't go away. Is the temperature stuck? It won't come down, whatever you do. If has your child gone floppy and you can't just wake them up? If you want to get a doctor's attention and get to the front of the queue, those are the things that you need to communicate to us. And saying, I've been taking sprays and sprays and paracetamol for 3 days now, and I'm worse, not better, that's really helpful. Victor, if you get your blood pressure monitor, phoning up and saying, my blood pressure is 210/60, you're front of my queue. If you have an oxygen monitor, and your oxygen monitor says, I'm 82%, you'll be front of the queue. So we can do things ourselves to help the person on the phone to make sure we jump the queue. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, and I will hang about. I won't rush off, so you can come and grab me.
We'll take his question, and then Dr. John Patterson will still be around for one-on-one if you have questions afterwards.
Good morning. Yeah, actually, good afternoon. It's afternoon already. Mine is more of the NHS app. I remember, as you said earlier, like women, we don't go to GP until it hits us. I remember when I used to set my alarm for 8 o'clock just to ring the GP so I can get an appointment that same day. Now, when you set your alarm, you don't get your appointment that day. You get like in a week on ahead. Yeah. And the receptionists, obviously, they are very busy. So this app, like, when you log on to this app, do you get the same day appointment, or and the people on the other end, are they medical trained doctors, or are they like, I don't know, maybe some staff just trying to tell you what to do?
Yeah. So we are always on the way to perfection in the NHS. We never quite achieve perfection. If it's a routine problem that you're trying to fit in around your work, then this is very much the best way, because it'll get to me. So my trained staff, colleagues, will read all the requests and move this person wants a letter, photocopy of their medical note, and then this person is saying, you give me treatment for migraines, it's getting worse and worse and worse, and my blood pressure at home is doing this. They will then put it into my phone calls. So I see 12 patients, and then I make 6 phone calls, and all of those phone calls will be me phoning you because of what you put down in the app. So it's about just learning more and more how the system works. And it's very frustrating because sometimes the system improves, but people just remember the bad version, and so then they don't really come along. And then people say, well, there's no point doing that improvement. So every practice in Oldham has gone online in a better way. And for your non-urgent problems, you will be able to get your voice, which is what this is about, your voice to a clinician and to someone in the team within a day, within 2 days, depending on when in the day you contact them. It's not right for my kid's gone floppy and is quite sick. That might be an accident and emergency, but it is right for, I'm going on a trip and I need to sort my health out before I go on the trip. Yeah, so do please contact. I hang about with the GPs, and I have to be so genuine about this, that they are for you. I know it mustn't feel like that sometimes, and the staff are for you. And their frustration, it's a bit like, can you imagine being a teacher and loving the kids and wanting the kids to have the best education, and then the government put 70 kids in your class, and then they put 80 kids in your class, and then they take away your whiteboard, and then they take away your textbooks, and then you're going, so, that does something to somebody. We're not in that situation yet. We've given more whiteboards, more textbooks. We've tried to make the class sizes smaller in that analogy. I would encourage you to visit your GP again. Try this new way. You have my name from today, and I'm very happy to be contacted and give people advice after this meeting. Thank you.
Can we put our hands together for Dr. John Patterson, please? Can we do better? Thank you very much. He will still be around after now, so if you have questions to meet with him one-on-one, please do. Before he goes, I will invite the pastors and the elders for a photograph session with our facilitators. Please. Pastor Adile, Pastor Olaya, please. And if you